Been meaning to make an updated video about my favorite R.F. Kuang books as well as where I think new readers of hers should start, so I'll go ahead and use this comment to do so. So I think that this is a sentiment among a lot of readers that are new to R.F. Kuang's writing, that her writing is difficult to understand, that it's extremely complex, and I haven't really found that to be the case. The first book that I read of hers was The Poppy War, and this series is inspired by historical events that happened in China, so it's a historical fantasy, and it was also the first book that she wrote. She was much younger when she wrote it, so I didn't find it that difficult to understand. I will say that due to the events that happened in the book, that it is very triggering, so please check the trigger warnings. If you are into those genres, I definitely would recommend starting there. If historical fantasy or fantasy in general are not really your cup of tea, then I would recommend starting with Yellowface. Yellowface is a satirical novel that criticizes a lack of racial diversity in the publishing industry. It's a modern setting with modern language, and the underlying message I think is also quite easy to understand. That it's from the perspective of an individual trying to benefit off of the work of a person of color, and just being in their head, the way that they justify the decisions that they're making and the way that they view themselves as the victim is quite infuriating. And regardless if you started with A Poppy War or with Yellowface, after you finish both of those, then it's time for my favorite book, which is Babel. So Babel is a dark academia fantasy story that criticizes colonialism as well as speaks to the value and importance of translation, quite specifically the magic of translation. This one I think gets a bad rep for being very dense as well as in your face and quite complex, but I think that the themes that are in this book are for a certain audience, and either you're going to take them at face value and appreciate them, or maybe you're going to see yourself and not quite like it. I think that that has to do with a lot of the divisiveness when it comes to reviews of Babel. I loved it. I loved the characters. I felt for them. Saw myself in some characters and I hated others. The magic system in this is quite complex. But if you enjoy really taking a step back and trying to understand something new, this is going to be fun for you. I will say that Babel is not for everybody, but it's definitely for me. And once you've read all of those, you'll be ready for Calabasas, which comes out in August of this year. You've got 7 months and 1 week to get through all of her work, so you could be ready in time. This is her return to academia and fantasy. I'm so excited about this. Calabasas is about two academic rivals that have to venture to hell to retrieve the soul of their professor so that he'll return to Earth to write their job recommendations. I don't know much about this, but I know that we can expect paradoxes and lots of twists along the way. R.F. Kuang is an auto-buy author and one of my favorite authors, so if you haven't checked out her work, I definitely recommend it. You're missing out.